Mishka arrived at the playground in the late evening. The sun had already descended behind the towering 9-story building where he resided, and darkness had enveloped the courtyard. Everything was still save for the distant rumble of a truck engine and the bark of a dog. The air was redolent of freshly cut grass, and there was a patch that had been trodden down, a makeshift net goal that was sagging, and a few benches serving as stands. It was not exactly like the football fields Mishka had seen on television, but it nevertheless left an impression on him. There was an aura of magic about the place, and once the game began, everything else seemed to fall away. His parents' arguments, his schoolwork, even the pain in his feet, all of it seemed to dissipate. Mishka adored this place, yet he was rarely invited to join in. Mishka hurled an old ball onto the lawn and with it advanced towards the goal, feigning to defeat invisible adversaries. With all his strength, he endeavored to place the ball beneath the crossbar, but the goalpost fluttered and the shot was wide. Mishka was crestfallen, but swiftly recovered and leapt up, waving his arms in celebration of the missed chance. He glanced around to ascertain if anyone had observed his failure, but nobody paid attention. Mishka understood that the local lads were laughing at him and devising new derogatory nicknames. Only if he scored a goal would they take him seriously. But with every missed opportunity, Mishka gained more nicknames. Now, nobody was watching him. The windows were gradually darkening and the front doors were banging less frequently. This is why Mishka cherished this time. There were practically nobody on the street. Everyone was inside their homes, preparing for bed. The playground was Mishka's alone, and nobody would turn him away. He had dispatched 50 human lives when he once again heard the sound of the dog. This time, its barking was much closer. Emanating from somewhere behind the dwelling, it was not merely barking. It sounded as if the canine were in a state of frenzy. Mishka envisioned a snarling maw, sharp fangs, and saliva dribbling onto the ground. A shiver ran down his spine, for he did not wish to encounter a rabid beast. Moreover, he dreaded returning home to face his father's wrath for his tardiness. He did not want his mother to witness his appearance, nor her disfigured countenance, nor hear her utter. Suddenly, the barking ceased, replaced by a piercing howl. In the ensuing moment, there was an alarming crack as bones shattered. Mishka himself felt as if his own bones were breaking. The noise was so deafening and terrifying. Mishka picked up the ball and looked around, peering into the gloom. Half the lights by the entrance were out. The wind blew debris across the pavement, and birds played in a birdhouse in a birch tree. At the corner of the building, a tall man stood staring directly at Mishka. His legs went weak, and in the ensuing silence, all he could hear was his own pounding heart. He realized that in the circle of light cast by the lamp on the landing he was exposed. Mishka reflexively took a step back, and the stranger mirrored the movement like a strange and awkward reflection. On one of the upper floors, glass shattered and a scream followed. Mishka jumped as a siren wailed on the distant highway and then faded away. Something was happening, but he could not tell what. Another man appeared beside the stranger. Like the other, he gazed at the bear, but his posture was peculiar. He extended his arms before him as if clutching at air or an invisible orb. A dryness crept into Mishka's throat, and a sheen of perspiration beaded his brow as he hastened towards the exit. Yet, he discerned dark silhouettes on the landing that seemed rooted to the spot, like mannequins concealed beyond the reach of lantern light, awaiting. "Do not," a voice resonated behind him, distorted and unnatural, as if its owner had yet to master the art of speech. Turning, he beheld Sergei, a boy a year his senior with whom he occasionally shared playtime, one of the few who treated him with normality. "Sergei, what do you mean?" Sergei stood a few paces away from the football pitch, his head swiveling in all directions, hesitant to venture into the circle of illumination. He slowly extended his leg from the darkness, only to swiftly retract it. Then he attempted again. The earring, according to the Gita, 1 by 1, 100. Misha could not catch his breath. The wind blew through Misha's unkempt fringe, carrying with it the scent of fresh blood, putrid flesh, and smoldering refuse, the odor of the new earring. There. According to the scripture, I do not feel it. With a sudden lunge, the creature rushed forward, collapsing to the ground with a menacing growl, retreating swiftly into the shadows. Swiftly rising, Misha observed Serioza's smile, and a shudder ran down his spine. "Stay away from me." exclaimed the creature, its voice resonating with a haunting intensity. Mishka hurled a ball at the entity, then seized a stone and flung it at its head. The being staggered backward a few paces and froze in place. It then clumsily mimicked Mishka's actions, crouching and hurling an imaginary stone. This repeated itself over and over, like an odd exercise in gym class. "Leave me be." Mishka could not contain his tears. Shrieks and other peculiar noises emanated from the darkness. Sirens began to wail. Mishka edged away from the entity and pressed his back against the lantern, seeking refuge in the light. Mosquitoes buzzed around the lantern, while a fly beat its wings against the web. Shadows grew across the football field. The entity that had been feigning Seryoga's identity located a genuine stone on the ground and hurled it with immense force at Mishka. The lamppost trembled, and the entity gazed ahead for a moment. Then it raised its head toward the globe that emitted electrical light. Mishka felt a chill as the shadows started to stir and a plume of dark smoke billowed up from behind the buildings. Sobbing uncontrollably, he sank to the ground, shielding his head with his arms. The beast succeeded in shattering the lantern only on its third try.